Pipebomb Radio. What? With your hosts, Felix Olmedo and Austin James.
This voice, this is power. In anybody else's hands, this is a microphone. In my hands, it's a pipe bomb. It's showtime! Woo!
Good evening, everybody. It's Tuesday night. You know what time it is. We actually have another guest lined up tonight, one we originally had planned for earlier this month, but we've got him back for sure tonight. Anyways, you're joined by your host always, myself, and, of course, Austin. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing phenomenal. But I'm doing even better because we're having on the Beast. We're having on Dan Savin, the Beast, and the Beast. I didn't say the Beast incarnate. I'm like, he's not Brock Lesnar. But, I mean, I'm
he's
sure he
not
has
Brock
a
Lesnar.
couple of thoughts about Brock Lesnar, though. Because, I mean, he's not only him and Brock Lesnar, but you also got, like, Ken Shamrock. All of them three have something in common. They've been a part of professional wrestling and the MMA world. So that's going to be interesting to tag along and tap into what's all that about.
And you know what's funny? I actually chatted with Mr. Severn just a little while ago, and I remembered that he was actually going to be part of some kind of the little show that Sonny Ono, one of our former guests, is setting up out there in Iowa with Ernest Miller.
The River City one? I think it's called River City, the River City Festival. We're going to be having
I couldn't think of the whole name out loud, but, you know. He also is actually going to be part of some one of the Hearts shows out there in Calgary coming up, I believe, in July, if I'm not mistaken. I might have read the date wrong.
The Heart Legacy Wrestling in Canada.
That's the one. I knew you seen that. But he is definitely waiting for our call. I do have the number to call him, and I'm going to go ahead and not make him wait any longer, unless that might be him calling in now. No, I don't think so. I'm going to go ahead and call him right now. For a second there, I thought he might have been calling us right now, but we'll see. Get that number set up here. Alrighty, here we go.
Hello?
Hello, Mr. Severn?
Speaking.
How you doing, sir? It's Felix in Austin.
Hello there, Felix. And Austin.
What's up, Mr. Severn?
I'm good. Your voice is a little bit lower tone. I can actually hear Felix a whole lot better.
All right, Austin, just speak up a little bit, and I'll let you fire away with the first set of questions. Go ahead, pal.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I think my phone was off for some reason. Okay, well, I'm going to start by saying, I mean, it's really an honor to speak to you. It really is. And it's not like people actually go out and do what they want to do in life. You definitely have. I wanted to start off by, asking you, what kind of got you interested in the entire world of MMA, first off?
Well, I mean, it's, I'll just say, I did not know it existed in the beginning. I have a place in Coldwater, Michigan at that time, and it was UFC was so new, and the pay-per-view capabilities were still so new that Coldwater, Michigan did not have pay-per-view capabilities. So a buddy of mine who watched the very first two UFCs simply recorded them on an old VHS tape and showed them to me and said, you ought to think about doing this. And I'm watching people getting soccer kicked in the face and stuff like this, and I said, well, these are not exactly skills that I possess. And then he said, well, look at this skinny little guy doing jiu-jitsu. Of course, he was referred to Hoist Gracie. I really had never been exposed to jiu-jitsu before, but it simply looked like wrestling to me, and I figured, well, if a guy is close enough to throw down upon me, I either step back and get out of his range or close the distance before he gets any real velocity on any of these shots. And that little training tidbit right there has literally has carried me through my entire career.
And I was wondering as well, going along with that, have you? I mean, what are your thoughts now as Dana White took over the UFC and kind of took it to a new level that it wasn't able to go to in the 90s? Do you still keep up with the current UFC product right now?
Well, I mean, to a certain extent, only because there is too much MMA content altogether. Not just one company, but I'm a person that does not watch a lot of television. And you look at in any given 1 month, just for one company, the UFC, they typically have one pay-per-view, sometimes two pay-per-views. Then you got the Fox, Fight Night. Then you got the Ultimate Fighter show, and then you got all the different things that they're broadcasting and talking about it. And I mean, that's just one company. Now you throw in Bellator, you throw in King of the Cage, Gladiator Challenge, and a few other companies that that are eluding my mind right off the top of the head, and that's just way too much. Guys, I have certain philosophies and cliches that I utilize a great deal, and one of my cliches is there are two types of people. There are those that are going to sit and watch life pass them by, and there are going to be the people who engage the game. And you're speaking to probably one of the biggest, longest engagers that you'll ever probably speak to.
Awesome.
Great. And
go ahead, Austin.
I was going to say you were a very accomplished high school and collegiate wrestler that eventually took you to the Arizona State Hall of Fame. Did you kind of like visualize what you're going to tackle first, or did you just go into something like collegiate and high school wrestling just to start off?
No, I mean it was just a process, a stepping process. I started my amateur wrestling career back in 1969 in junior high. That's they did not have like all the different wrestling programs that they have now, much like golf, tennis. Wrestling now in the United States, in most states, you can start competing at 4 years of age. And I'll have parents bringing me a 3-year-old, and they're like, mold him now. And I'm thinking, to me, no child doesn't have that inclination whatsoever. It's usually a parent, typically a father, who is living vicariously through their son. And I just don't believe in a lot of those youth competition programs because, most of these kids, they don't even know how to share, let alone accepting defeat and things of that nature. So, again, I know I'm kind of going a little bit off onto a tangent there, but, again, getting back to my own career, I started in normal junior high team athletic programs. There was a basketball program. In the fall, there was a football program. And in the wintertime, basketball program and wrestling program. And then in the spring, they had track and field and or baseball. So I tried multitude of sports. I tried basketball. I tried wrestling, football, track and field, and even baseball. So over the course of my career, I just really seemed to really take to the sport of wrestling, realistically, not until I would think my 9th grade year. I finally read my first magazine about amateur wrestling, and it talked about all types of the mental aspects, the psychology. It talked about different types of training techniques, diet.
Awesome.
It kind of set my very first goals as a 9th grader, and it's always been a progression of each year resetting those goals, and that has still carried over to this day. You got to realize I've been competing now over 4 decades. I said I started wrestling in 1969. So just going from 69, 79, 89, 99, 2000, there's over 40 years right now. I won won my 71. I won my first national 72.
Mr. Severn, I believe the connection to your phone might be kind of going out a little bit, but I can hear you. You come in clear, and then you kind of fade for a second, and you come back in clear. I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Well, I'm going to try to move in maybe a little bit closer. I'm a little bit ways away from the home there, just so I could just. It's a beautiful night. Is this any better?
Actually, it's much better.
Okay. Yep. I'm just a lot closer to probably the main connection there. No, it's a beautiful night out here in Fountain Hills, Arizona. I'm out here right now, and it's just a beautiful little bit of a light breeze, but it's the stars are just a popping here right now. But getting back to what you guys are talking about, or actually what I actually was elaborating about is that competition has been a part of my life for most of my life. And as I was saying that, to start my wrestling career in 1969 and start teaching wrestling as of 1971 and winning my first national title in 72. And the reality is, okay, guys, hate to put you on the spot, but you guys were born to win.
Mr. Severn, are you still there?
No, I'm here. Did you hear my question?
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought I lost you there for a second. My next question would have actually been, what led to you hearing from... Did
you guys... Okay, I guess you guys did not hear me. I said that I won my first national title in 1972, and I go, and you guys were born when?
Oh, I'm sorry. Myself, I was actually born in 78, and Austin is actually still a young man. I believe... what year were you born, Austin?
97. I know a lot more than I've seen.
Okay, well, that's just my way of saying that I've been competing longer than most of my opponents have been alive.
I believe that.
You must, for competing over 4 decades, you must really love what you do.
Well, I'm good at it. That's the bottom line is I'm good at it. The reality is, you guys might find this hard to believe, but I have, just talking about my MMA career, people were astonished at what I did, but the reality is, back in 1994 when I started that career, it was just prior to turning 37 years of age. Now, who starts a cage fighting career at that age? And then
not many start that late. That's true.
And then go, basically almost a 20-year career with it. And literally, if you were to look at me, you won't see on me. My ears still look like ears, not all cauliflowered up by the way you see most of these guys. My nose is still in the center of my face, and my teeth, although a little crooked, they're still originals, but they've always been crooked. A few things. I actually might get braces now.
Hey, you're never too old to get braces.
No. Actually, I should say I'm getting ready to start my next career, and that is I have a match slated for May 17th back in Berlin, New Jersey. I will be starting in my very first professional submission grappling match.
Hello.
Wow. That's what I'm doing that right now. I'm doing for jiu-jitsu submission wrestling. They call it the SWA. I don't know, it's recent that they started this program. It's the Submission Wrestling Academy. But we do that at our school.
And at this point, Mr. Severn, are you still there?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
We lost you there for just a second. I didn't know if you'd asked a question.
No, I did not ask any question, no.
Okay, cool.
I was just trying to elaborate. Austin was saying how he was involved in a kind of like a submission grappling type of a class right now, and you're seeing more and more of that popularity across the United States just because a lot of guys, they like to train MMA, but the reality is they don't want to get hit.
That's very true.
And so And I am of the same mindset. The reality is, do I want to get hit? No. It's one of these aspects where it's the golden rule in reverse: do unto others before they do unto you.
Yes. And like I said, that's the perfect mindset, because if somebody would hit me, I wouldn't really like that. And that kind of gets some adrenaline pumping. That makes me want to kill them. Well, not really kill. I'm not going to go no, not to that extent. But I'm saying that it makes me get a little bit more pumped up than I was beforehand.
Well, yeah, I understood it. It's a shame that we have to be so careful about our choosing of the words in today's politically correct scene. But that's why I always tell people that I am not a politically correct individual. I never have been. I'm actually I'm a brutally blunt person. You may or may not like to hear what I have to say, but is it honest? Yes, it is.
And you know what? Some people can't accept the truth all the time, but it's good that you don't sugarcoat it and you keep it real with whoever you're speaking with. If they ask your opinion, whether it be about MMA or amateur or professional wrestling, that you lay it all out there and take it or leave it. You don't like it, well, at least you know.
Yeah. Actually, the bottom line is I do too many. I have too much going on, and usually if you tell one lie, you've got to tell another half a dozen to cover that up. I've got way too much going on. I always tell people I'm not that sharp. I'd rather just hurt your feelings once and we just move on from there.
I like that philosophy.
I love that.
You know, I wanted to ask you, Mr. Severn, what led to you hearing from WWE in the 90s? Because I know that you had went in there for a brief stint and actually worked with Jim Cornette and was the NWA champion during the time they allowed the NWA into the WWE. What led to you getting a call from Stamford?
Well, I'd say it was my first phone call. I think was maybe they called me first, but I'm not certain if it was them or if it was WCW called me first. I did meet with them, Eric Bischoff, and so I don't really recall the how the events went on. If WWF called me first, then WCW, then WWF called back again, and things. You know, basically, they were in contact with both Ken Shamrock and I at the same time. Ken went to work for Vince almost a year before I did. He simply just said, for X amount of dollars, I'm in. Well, I did not want to be exclusive, and still to this day, I am the only non-exclusive professional wrestler ever in the WWF's history. Where I could have at the time that I was under contract with them, I could work for any other promotion, including WCW and ECW, because they both existed. I was working for 35 different promoters alone in the NWA. The NWA wanted to make me exclusive. I go, well, I can't be exclusive to you guys unless you want to pay me, a contract that's worth it. And they're like, well, we can't guarantee that. Then I go, then I guess you can't prevent me from making income in other areas. So I said, I will always. I said, the thing that I think I don't think that Vince and or the NWA promoters and most promoters in general, I wasn't doing any type of a goofy gimmick. I was being me. I was being a true wrestler. I'm a throwback from days gone by. I should have been back in the era with Bruno Sammartino, Lou Thez, Bruiser Brody. Those are the guys that I should have been wrestling in, because most people, when they see me, they say that I do look like someone from the past, because I got, my big broad mustache. I'm a big burly kind of a guy and stuff like this. So it's, I fall into that mode.
And you're actually the third longest NWA World Heavyweight Champion of all time. I think it's the third or second.
Yeah, no, I know I'm in the top 5. I've actually been in contact with them because I still do professional wrestling and matches. I just don't get a chance to do that, many of them, because most professional wrestling promoters typically book shows 6 weeks out. Now, because of the vast array of things that I do, I mean, I do mixed martial arts seminars, but I have like amateur wrestling camps that take place on an annual basis. So I already know a year in advance when my camp's going to take place. But then I also I'm contacted by law enforcement agencies. I have a specialty ground defensive tactics program. I've worked with the military. I've worked with the Border Patrol, our air marshals, military. I mean, when you look at me, I look like I am military. I look like I am a cop or something like that nature because I have that Dudley Do-Right chin and I've got a mustache, but I've actually never been any of the above. But I have a mindset for it. So physical mechanics is my area of expertise. I can, well, even with a couple of my own children, to take them out there and work with them in track and field, shot put, discus, things of that nature, high jump. I have a son right now that his very first track meet, he this was his first year ever doing. Again, he's a late in life child. He's in the 8th grade. And his very first track meet out, he broke the school record for the long jump. I mean, and that was the first track meet. Now, I've already have been teaching him about how to set your goals. I says that's at the beginning of the season. I says, the old record was like, just like 19 feet 1 inch, and he basically broke it with 19, 3 is what he did. And I said, okay, you're there. I said, our next goal is we're going to be breaking 20 feet is our next goal now. And then I said, you can do it. We'll just work on some plyometrics and we'll get our launch and then things of that nature. And I've got to measure out this distance. So again, it's just my way of saying that physical mechanics is a thing that I understand, and I can help a lot of people. It's like I literally when people come to me and say, can you do something with my son? I go, I guarantee you, I can make him a better wrestler. I can make him better at this or that. But the reality is he going to do all the work? He will. I won't give up on him, but he will more than likely give up on himself because that's just the nature of most people. That's why am I still successful at the age that I am? I mean, the reality is, okay, I'll be 56 years short.
No.
I don't act like a 56-year-old guy. Like this match coming up on May 17th. I am 2.5, a minimum of 2.5 decades older. He's 6'3". He's 305 pounds. He's 124. He's not and
Mr. Severn, you're getting out again. I just wanted to let you know we could barely hear what you were saying there.
Okay, is this any better?
We can hear you much more clear now.
Okay, I'm trying to sit still. I didn't move around. But what I was saying is that talking about my opponent, 6'3", 305. He has won 24 of these NAGA events. NAGA just stands for the North American Grappling Association. Now he's won 24 of them. That doesn't mean how many times he's either been a runner-up or he's placed. And to me, it's like I study my opponent. I know how to break down tape and study it. And everybody has flaws in their technique. Well, I've watched 6 of his more recent matches. I have seen his flaw, and come May 17th, I will capitalize on that.
That's awesome.
I want to ask you.
Go ahead,
No, you have.
No, I was just going to mention because I know you mentioned your May 17th. Deal that you have going on in Jersey. Do you have any upcoming ones that you'd like to mention as well, or any other shows that you're going to be appearing at in the next?
Again, kind of what we talked about just a little bit earlier in the day. I will be out in Mason City, Iowa, for Sonny Ono, and being a part of his professional wrestling extravaganza that will be taking place there. I think that is coming up on May the 10th, I believe. So yeah, I mean that like I said, it's hard. Almost every weekend I do something, and sometimes during the course of the week I'm doing things. It's like just a little bit earlier I was up at Arizona State teaching a class at Arizona State University for submission grappling. So, and I'm hoping to have a program taking place at Olivet College here by fall of 2014, a full-fledged mixed martial arts program. Now, you got to realize I have a home back in Coldwater, Michigan. I have a 10,000 square foot training facility, and my classes start up on May 1st. So, to say I've got a lot going on is an understatement. Most people at my age would be looking at trying to slow down, and mine is I'm like the I'm like the tip.
As long as you're up to it, you definitely want to keep going as long as you can, as long as you have air in your lungs and your heart's still beating. You got to keep going. Absolutely, I agree. That's a great philosophy right there.
No, I do like what I do. I like the fight and stuff. I don't like as I was stating earlier. It's not that I like fighting, because I don't. I've actually never been a fight in my entire life, but I understand competition, and I used my pedigree very well. My strengths was my grappling ability. So when I walked into the cage, as I said before, my whole mindset was stay out of range and then close the distance as quickly as I can, clinch them. And then my mindset is once I clinch you, you will never see the light of day again unless I decide to cut you loose. Even what turned out to be my final MMA match, I gave up over 3 decades of age. Sized, this guy he was ripped and shredded. I guarantee you, it was an independent type of promotion. They don't test for steroids. Yeah. So this guy was steroided all up, stuff like this, and even at the weigh-ins, more or less mocking me here at the weigh-ins, because he come in weighing at 265, but the promoter failed to tell me is he starts at 300 pounds and gets down to 265, and so he was big, ripped, shredded, and then the promoter says, "Well, Dan, you want to take your shirt off and do a pose down with him?" And I just simply said, "Nope." Because there was a time when I'd say my physique looked a whole lot better. Now I have one nice, smooth ab, singular.
Me too.
I wanted to mention to you, Mr. Severn, because I do recall a moment in time when you took part in what was called a dungeon match between Owen Hart and Ken Shamrock. I wanted to mention.
Yeah.
Did you have any? What were any good memories? Any stories you wanted to mention about working with Owen? I've heard nothing but great. He was always a kidder, a ribber. He liked to have fun. Did you have any stories of working with him? Even about that match in particular? Because I know I believe you were the referee for that match.
Yes, I was a special guest referee. Now, just the fact while they were setting up all the cameras, sound, all that 9 yards. I was sitting up in the living room with Owen's dad, Stu Hart. So here I am getting a chance to sit. There was Stu there for about 3 hours, and more or less, he would ask me a few token questions here or there, but I more or less just listened to him talk about his career and things of that nature, and he really liked. I guess he really likes shooters and stuff like this. Shooters is a term for people with real capabilities, and that's what he said. I heard that you're a real shooter and stuff like this. And I go, yes, sir, Mr. Hurt. I come from a legitimate amateurism background. And he really liked that, and like I said, just to be able to sit up in their home and just know the history of what the Hart family has meant to the professional wrestling world. I've bumped into Brett at various autograph signings, things of that nature, and just within the past week, Smith Hart, I guess one of the other brothers right there, just contacted me for an opportunity to go back up into Calgary and be part of a show, but unfortunately, I was already booked for the exact same date that they wanted to bring me on in. So, like I said, working with Owen he had a great sense of humor. And literally after, I got the chance to know him a little bit, he goes, Stan, he says, you'll never remember me, but he says, I remember watching you during your amateur wrestling career, because I would, living in the state of Michigan, I was wrestling practically every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday somewhere. And if there wasn't something happening in the state of Michigan, I was either bouncing down to Indiana, Ohio, or going over to Illinois. And, so a lot of times I would go into Ontario, Canada, and do freestyle and Greco-Roman, because they don't, in the United States, we're the only country that does our what's called folk style. Folk style is just what we do in our junior highs, high schools, and collegiate type of thing. No other country does that style of wrestling. It's all either freestyle or Greco-Roman, which are competed in the national championships and or world championships, and I should say Olympic Games. But like I said, Owen said, he says, I remember watching you at the Canadian Cup event over a couple of different years, coming on in and wrestling in that event. So, like I said, just and because of Owen's legitimate background, I could do things with him, or I should say, we could do things together that I couldn't do with a normal professional wrestler.
I believe that. I definitely.
Yeah, there's a lot of wrestlers, they don't understand groundwork, for example. So when Owen and I could get together, we could do a little pummeling. We could go into takedowns to the mat, doing stand-ups and switches and breaking of the hands and things of that nature. But some people, as they hear us talk about this, they'll be like, breaking his hand. Well, that's just amateur wrestling terminology for just certain techniques that you do just to break away, get escapes or reversals.
And Mr. Severn, would you be okay with actually answering a couple of questions from people who are actually calling in?
Well, shoot away. I'll try.
All right, no problem. The first one is from area code 281. You are on the air with Dan the Beast Severn. Do you have a question for him?
Yes. First of all, this is Chris Gary of Fever Keeps It Real. I know, Mr. Severn, you were on that show at one point in time in the past. So I'm
actually, on Keep It Real, I've actually been on there a number of times in the past. I'm actually going to reach out to him again here probably the next couple of days. I've just been swamped because of what's happening in New Jersey. I want to be able to get in touch with Paul.
Okay, I can understand that, Mr. Severn, but I got a couple of questions to ask you.
Good way.
Ever since you retired from mixed martial arts competition prior to the start of last year, of 2013, even though you were the first guy to main event the first guy to main event a WEC event, the first guy to main event a Pride event, and the Ultimate 95 UFC 5 tournament winner, second UFC Super Fight champion, do you miss getting into the thrill of training for mixed martial arts competition, let alone fighting?
Well, what you might find really difficult to believe is in all of those years of doing the cage fighting, because it has not always been known as mixed martial arts. The term mixed martial arts, I think, only really came about somewhere around 2003, 4, something like that. I think it was January 2005 is when the Ultimate Fighter show debuted. Actually, no, not the Ultimate Fighter show, but that's when Stephen Bonner, fought Forrest Griffin at that point in time, and that was on Spike Television. That really is what I think brought a lot of life to the current product. But what my whole point was saying is that for me being involved in mixed martial arts since 1992, what you might find hard to believe is the fact that I've only done 2 training camps in all of those years. One for 32 days, one for 35 days. The rest of the time, I just taught classes and showed up and stepped into a cage. Now, you tell me who else can do that and have the success ratio that I had.
Not that many people, Mr. Severn.
I can count them all on one hand and have 5 fingers left. I can't think of anyone, especially when you look into the factor of I'm lifetime chemical free. You find another pro-level heavyweight that can make that claim. So I make it a little bit more difficult there for you, because I like what I stand for, because I do a lot of speaking engagements with high schools about the importance of education, going on and getting a good degree and things of that nature. I talk with a lot of young fighters, and they're like, "Do you have any words of wisdom?" I'll say, "Yes. You better have plan B, C, and D going, because you and your opponent both have plan A, and someone's plan's about to come up short."
Wow.
Great way to say that.
Everyone thinks everyone has a great game plan until they get smacked in the face, and then it's like that is having your face rubbed or smacked with reality.
Ain't that the truth?
Go ahead. What's your next question?
Okay, Mr. Severn, my next question is, I know you've been professionally wrestling since 1991 or 92, am I correct?
As of 92, the United States Olympic Committee came down with a new rule that allowed amateur athletes to be both amateur and professional simultaneously, as long as you were not involved in a high school athletic program or a collegiate athletic program, because you would still be governed by your NCAA rules or your high school athletic association rules. But I was well past my collegiate eligibility, so I could have my cake and eat it too.
Wow. But the question I wanted to ask was, you've been professionally wrestling since 1992. You've been doing mixed martial arts and shoot fighting probably since the year after, 1993 or 94, correct?
Yeah, I started going to Japan first, doing the shoot fighting over there, and yes, and then it progressed from tough man contest, shoot fighting, to then no holds barred competition, to now the current product, mixed martial arts.
Yeah, but what's harder to train for, professional wrestling or mixed martial arts in your aspect?
And for me in particular, because I still do professional wrestling, it was more difficult for me stepping in a professional wrestling ring as opposed to walking into a cage doing something real. And the reason behind that is, walking into a real match, all I had to do is get results. The match didn't have to last any length of time, didn't have to be pretty, didn't have to entertain the folks. To me, it's like just going out there and just getting your hand raised, or whether you choke someone else, arm barred them, knocked them out, it didn't matter. Now, in professional wrestling, you have to put on an entertainment product for a certain amount of time. It could be a 10-minute match. It could be a 20. It could be, the longest I've actually known is what they call an Ironman match, which is 1 hour long. Mm-hmm. But I do believe, and I could be wrong, but I do believe in the Guinness Book of World Records, I do believe the longest wrestling match is something like over 11 hours.
Wow.
Yep.
Again, I could be wrong, but I'm not wrong by much. It might be 10. It might be closer to 12 hours. I knew it at one point in time because I was trying to get a hold of representatives, because I was going to try to do something like that right at Arizona State University's campus, just to kind of bring notoriety to the sport of wrestling.
Wow, that's crazy. But still, Mr. Severn,
I appreciate you calling in, man.
Did
you want to hang tight and listen in to the rest of the show?
I'll probably listen to the rest of the show online, but, thanks for the conversation, Mr. Severn, and good luck on the rest of the show.
Well, thank you very much, and like I said, go to my website or go to my Facebook, and you'll see, there's more information about the May 17th professional submission grappling match that I have coming up.
Okay, sir.
Thank you.
Alrighty then, and that was actually a lot of fun. He asked some great questions, and you gave great insight to that aspect of which was more harder to train for, and it kind of touched a little bit as far as somebody like a guy like Brock Lesnar, who came in, who was an amateur wrestling champion and came into WWE briefly for about a year, 18 months or so, left, came back almost 10 years later, or roughly about 10 years later, after he had worked in UFC, became their champion, and then came back to WWE. So you really have to have a certain mindset and a certain amount of toughness to make that transition into, as you would call it, you're entertaining the crowd, whereas you're going into the cage, you're not worried about entertaining the crowd, you're worried about making sure that
just getting results, positive results. Because if you lose in a mixed martial arts match, you're more likely you're taking physical damage in the process.
Absolutely. I do have one more caller here. This will be the last one here. This is from area code 401. Hello, you're on the air with Dan Severn. What's your question?
Hi, Dan. How are you?
I'm great. Yourself?
Good. Name's John, and I was wondering, what was your reaction after when you got eliminated from the Royal Rumble 99, when you had that story, when you were going to eliminate everyone and win it, and unfortunately you didn't eliminate anyone, and it didn't go the way you wanted?
Well, no, well, again, you're talking about the wacky world of professional wrestling, or as I refer to it as wrestling is what I refer to it as. You got to realize there's a script that has already been put together. You know, so it's I hope I'm not bursting any bubbles here right now, but the reality is you already know, walking into a professional match, who was supposed to be winning, roughly at what kind of a time interval, and usually by what type of a finishing type of move. So I hope that doesn't burst your bubble, and you're not going to be clutching your John Cena doll here tonight, crying on it or anything like that. But no, it's
I really like you.
You know. But no, I mean, but that's what. And again, I don't mean to sound a little heartless about this, but that's one of the aspects that I had a difficult time comprehending about some of the professional wrestlers that I met. They lived in the world of fantasy for so long, they soon forgot. Where did fantasy end and reality begin? Now, the reality, okay, what you brought up there, the Royal Rumble, basically every 90 seconds, another athlete comes to the ring. Now, what if Dan Severn walked into the world of fantasy and turned it into reality? All of a sudden, I'm out there, it's a live pay-per-view, and I'm out in the ring, and then all of a sudden I just start this pummeling everyone that's in the cage, and I clear the ring out. Every 90 seconds they send fresh meat, just so I can just chew it up again. Now that, to me, just by sheer numbers, that will eventually get me out of the ring. But how many so-called superstars do you think I would have embarrassed? And that's if they got me out of the ring. They still haven't got me out of the arena.
True.
But, you know, it's like, I know what I'm there for. I was treated, I'd say, pretty well for the most part. I was paid well, treated well, and it's, you know, even now, it's like, when Smith Hart called me, I mean, he just said, you know, you got a really great reputation. He goes, you got a good word, stuff like this. He says, I really would like to have you on the show. Now, to me, that means something. It's pretty sad that we have to work in this world of, you know, everything's got to be signed documents and things of this nature, because your handshake and your word means nothing. That's I run my own mixed martial arts company, and you'd be surprised. And it's I gear it more towards amateur level, and you'd be surprised how many of these amateurs, after they committed to you, will no-show you.
I believe that. Nowadays, more than ever.
Do you think I will give them a second shot Nope.
Not a chance.
No. Now, I'm sure you guys remember this when I gave a award song to Ken Shamrock, if you remember.
Oh, my God. Yeah, last month he actually came on the air, the same guy, and he called it a reward song to Ken Shamrock. Very unique.
Yeah, I believe he's got one for you too, Mr. Severn.
I forgot about Dan Severn. If I'm looking for wrestling, even though he's, like you said, he's not a fighter, he's a grappler, and he does stuff for UFC. So let me go like this. I'm dreaming of a white Dan Severn, just like the Dan Severn I used to know when he used to beat that hoe and give her a low blow 'cause she had stinking B.O. from the snow.
Wow. Okay, then.
Well, I'll say I don't think that's ever going to make the top 5 chart there, but it was rather entertaining, nevertheless.
Thanks for calling in, John. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thank you. Good talking to you, Dan. Good luck to you in May.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was fun.
So is that a record caller that calls in and just has different songs that for different people?
Well, yeah,
that's the second time he's done that, actually.
Oh, okay.
He's only done that for you and Mr. Shamrock.
Yeah. Okay. I don't think I can't really serenade anyone with any song there, but actually I did write a poem, and it's on my website, and it's called The Match Promise. And any wrestler that ever reads it, I mean, it touches them, and that poem has been probably printed off and hangs in quite a few different wrestling rooms around the United States and basically around the world, because I've been to every country that has ever had a wrestling program, and some countries that don't even exist anymore. For example, there used to be in East Germany, and I was in East Germany 3 different times to see the Iron Curtain and the Berlin Wall and to be wrestling against some of the best people in the world at the time. So, quite an education.
Absolutely. I was going to say that.
Go ahead, Austin.
I was going to say that that you were talking about never really stopping in your life and your career. I believe that the people who stop, that's when they start to get old. That's when they start to age. And I don't really believe in age. I believe that people kind of evolve, and you have never stopped, and that's why you're still very young. I mean, looking at a picture of you, I'm like, there's no way. Like when you said you were, I think saying you were 60 or something. I'm like, there's no way.
Yeah, I'll be 56 shortly.
There's no way. I'm like, I was looking at it, I'm like, there's no way. And you just never stop. You keep on going, and that's phenomenal.
Well, the reality is, each year I lose a little bit because I can tell. But at the same token, you hit the nail on the head because I have never left it. I continue to do something in different realms. It's when you leave it for a certain time period and you try to come back to it, you'll never be quite the same person. I'll never be the same person I was 10 years ago, that I was 20 years ago, that I was 30 years ago. I mean, that's just the reality of father time moving on. I always tell people that I ruled the world from 1984 to 1986. That's when I say that I was a dominant force. I mean, I could have went to Japan and took on Godzilla at that time, and Godzilla would have never stood a chance. But
I actually wanted to talk about when the WWE had launched their WWE Network, and new fans actually get to be reintroduced to Dan Severn, at least from the years in WWE. Your fans, obviously you have dedicated fans who have followed you since the beginning. What are your thoughts about new fans obviously being reintroduced to Dan Severn, the professional wrestler in the 90s, as opposed to Dan Severn, who he is now? I mean, any thoughts about the WWE Network?
Well, I mean, no, I do get a couple of different magazines, stuff like that, and that I read that talk about both. Well, for example, the Figure 4 magazine is one of them that I get. It's like a newsletter, and it used to be always all predominantly about professional wrestling. But then when I I was kind of like that first crossover, because I was at first a professional wrestler as of '92, and then I jumped into the no holds barred, which grew into being mixed martial arts. And maybe that's something I should probably explain a little bit for your listeners. Mixed martial arts, the product that most people understand today, has approximately 37 rules. Part of those 37 rules, there are weight classes, there are time periods, athletes wear gloves, and they fight one opponent in a given evening. Back in the no-holds-barred era, there were only 2 rules, those being do not bite your opponent, do not stick fingers in the eye socket, no eye gouging. That's the end of the rules. So anything else your imagination could come up with, you were good to go. There were no weight classes. There were no timed rounds. It was just unlimited time. You just basically went until someone gave up. Your corner could even throw in a towel if they felt that their athlete wasn't reacting in a rational type manner. And it was an 8-man tournament. You had to face and defeat 3 opponents in a 2-hour pay-per-view, and this was all being done while being bare-knuckled.
Jeez.
Wow.
So a lot of, Americans are a very forgetful society, and they don't really realize what the real history is behind this. And I am the only Triple Crown champion in the UFC's no-holds-barred era. And since it's illegal to do now, I'm it.
I believe that.
Wow.
I just wanted to ask one last question, which was relayed to me by Terry from Facebook. He wanted to know, how would you personally rate yourself among some of the NWA champions of all time? I mean, you're definitely one of the toughest. I mean, but you personally, how would you feel? Where would you rank yourself in some of the great NWA champions of all time?
No, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, I was posed a question once, and I'm kind of going off into a side story, but it kind of pertains to what you just asked right there.
Okay.
I was asked once if I could have wrestled anybody, either currently alive or deceased, who would that be? And I had never been posed that question before. I says, I was getting ready to head out of country for the weekend. I was going to be flying over to England and do a couple of professional shows, a couple of autograph signings, and then fly back. I says, let me think about that over the weekend. And when I flew off, and then when I got back in, I typed it all up and I emailed back. And, again, I'm doing it off the top of my head. I can't verbatim recall what I said exactly. I says, being posed this particular new question, I thought about it a great deal. And at the time, most wrestlers would probably think that because of the really dominant names in the professional wrestling scene were like Hulk Hogan, The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Those were some of the names that were really popular during the time frame that I was wrestling with the Fed. And I kept thinking, well, I said, but at the same token, I've always been referred to as a throwback from days gone by. So maybe I would have been there with Bruiser Brody, Bruno Sammartino, the likes of them. But then I said, after doing some research on the NWA, for example, championship lineage and stuff like that of all the past champions, as many times as what Ric Flair has called himself, the man of holding so many different championship titles, there really is only one true guy. That was the king of all kings, and that was Lou Thesz. And so basically, I said, befittingly, I says, I would like to wrestle Lou Thesz. If during his peak of his career, during the peak of my career. Well, when I emailed that answer in, I got a reply back real quick. He says, Did you hear what happened to Lou? And I says, and then the guy called me on the phone. I goes, no. I says, he had passed away 2 days earlier, and I did not know it because I was over in England at the time, and I just only had wished that he knew how much I felt of his career, because I got to know Luthez when I was first going over to Japan doing the shoot fighting or shoot wrestling. It's called two different things, and that's where I ended up getting to know him. But then also Billy Robinson, who just recently passed away as well. So I got a chance to work with both men, and I said, even like most of my amateur wrestling coaches, they're all gone as well. So when I'm out teaching various techniques, I'll say that this technique comes from Doug Blueball, who was at one point in time the head wrestling coach at Indiana State University. Well, Indiana State University hasn't had a wrestling program since the mid-'80s. Doug Blueball was the guy that went overseas and to the World Championships, and he learned this new technique, and he's the guy that brought it back to the United States. So I'm actually I learned my like this Russian 2-on-1 series. I learned it directly from Doug himself. So to me, it's like I give honor to just the different people as I teach techniques where this came from and where that came from.
That's a great answer. Very, very good story right there too. Working with you're mentioning two of the greatest names really in wrestling history, not just NWA, just in wrestling history together.
Wrestling history.
Any final questions? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Wait, me. I'm sorry. I thought Mr. Severn was talking.
I was just. My only comment that I was making was that they're in professional wrestling, yes, but I mean they actually both had real shooter backgrounds, and the predecessor of calling catch as catch can wrestling there as well, which a lot of people, when they see some of the techniques that I do, even in professional wrestling, or even in my submission grappling and what I've done in MMA, comes from that background as catch can, because I do a lot of mixed martial arts seminars. I do a lot of submission grappling type of seminars, amateur wrestling seminars, and people are like, man, where'd you learn this stuff? I said, well, realistically, there are so much things that I learned from people, but then I started modifying the techniques, because when I teach, for example, if you're tall and short, thick or thin, one-size-fits-all techniques do not exist. You always have to modify techniques for your opponent if they're taller than you, shorter, thicker, thinner, necks, no necks, things of that nature. So, I'm all, as it goes back to what I said before, physical mechanics. I just know how to utilize my body very well without exerting a great deal of energy. So that's why a lot of people they're blown away with my cardiovascular. And the reality is, I don't have cardiovascular. I just know what I teach is why I teach a lot of parasital type of techniques where I will drain you, make you carry body weight, make you have to do more work than what I ever will be doing in the first place.
Awesome. And you're talking about great teachers and stuff. Billy Robinson was, in my mind, one of the all-time greatest wrestlers. He's and even to this day, I use just from looking online to see videos to try to improve my my jiu-jitsu, and I look at his videos, and he's still I can still get a lot from him, and he is phenomenal.
Well, Austin, what part of the country are you in there, Austin?
I'm in Louisiana.
Louisiana. Well, it's you should get well, you've got my contact information, stuff like this. Get with me afterwards, and or tomorrow, something like that, and you might know of some different MMA and or submission grappling schools down in the area, and then we'll set up some seminars somewhere down in either summer or something like. Come on down there.
That.
Chance to meet you, and then you can actually learn a few skills from another so-called mat master.
You definitely are. I can't even when I heard we were getting you on, I'm like, there's no way I'm talking. This is you are a legend, and I'm so privileged to talk to somebody like this, and I only hope to be able to do the stuff that you've been able to do, and there's so many people other people that have accomplished so much. Like Ken Shamrock is another guy who's done a lot too, and I keep on naming different people just in honor.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the compliment.
Well, we mentioned your upcoming shows coming up on May 9th or 10th, and then you have the one on the 17th. If fans wanted to keep up with you, you mentioned your website, and you mentioned.
Oh yeah, just by going to dansevern.com. That's the website, and I've got the Facebook. I've got a couple Facebooks because the friends and family that fills up to 5,000, and then when you go in the fans page, that's actually it's bottomless, so you can just keep on adding in there. And I always post the same information back and forth so that people, they're not getting shortchanged by any means. And they, the hard part is responding to people, just because I don't, as I said before, I don't watch a lot of television. I jump onto Facebook just a couple times, and I only will spend so much time onto it. Otherwise, I will never get anything else accomplished. But as I said before, all the things that I've got going on right now, but in the next 60 to 90 days, I hope to have a couple more big announcements that should be taking place. But I'll leave you guys in suspense on that right now, just so that it might intrigue you to contact me back.
That's actually what I was going to mention. Austin and I were talking. We definitely want to bring you back in for part 2 to talk more in depth about your time, of course, in MMA, what you're doing now, more of the upcoming shows, thoughts on the current state of professional wrestling, whether it be Indies or WWE. Would you be up to coming back for a part 2?
Oh yeah. Like I said, we'll let a little time pass, and that way, it's, as they say, too much of a good thing is just that, too much of a good thing. But just touch base with me, whatever, 4 months down the road, 6 months down the road, just to see what else the beast is up to.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right. On behalf of Austin, sir, we want to thank you for joining us tonight. It was indeed a blast to speak to somebody who is as real as you, and pun intended, by the way. But we wish you the best and continued success in all the aspects of what's keeping you busy. We look forward to having you back again real soon.
Very good. Well, Felix and Austin, thank you, gentlemen, and you guys have a good evening.
You too, sir. Thank you. There you have it, folks. The one and only Dan the Beast Severn. And he said, I don't think I could have said it any better. Too much of a good thing might just be too much of a good thing. We definitely have so much room to bring him back for a part 2 later down the line. Talk about his reign in the WWE, working with Jim Cornette. Guys like Jeff Jarrett, and if I'm not mistaken, when they had the NWA reign, and correct me if I'm wrong, Austin, when they had the NWA running a bit during the late 90s, I believe Cornette had his own little camp, which was Jarrett, of course Severn, and I believe it was Southern Justice too, which was the Henry and Phineas Godwin too, right?
Yep. I knew it was 2 other guys. I just couldn't remember their names. And what I was going to say? We definitely have a blackjack on our hands. That man's a blackjack, and if nobody knows what that means on Pipebomb Radio, if you look back at the Blackjack Mulligan interview from last year, or any Blackjack Mulligan interview you'll ever hear in your entire life, that guy can talk. He can talk for a while, but not just for a while, and just talk just to breathe, Those
are some good traits of a good storyteller.
But his talk, he carries volume. It's pretty cool and that's Dan Severn. Oh my God, but he is, and I've talked to so many people.
Can you imagine him actually being out there working with your jiu-jitsu guys over there?
The first thing I'm going to do when I get off of the phone, I'm going to be like, okay, when and where, how? The 3 questions I'm asked, and then it's tough. That was amazing. And like I said, I've talked to people like Bruno Sammartino, Blackjack Mulligan, Ivan Koloff. The list goes on. I've talked to some great people on here. Along with Felix.
Absolutely. We can add Mr. Severn to that list.
But Dan Severn is one of the greatest people I've ever had the opportunity of speaking with. That's even an understatement in itself. I cannot even explain. If you listen to that interview, you know what you just experienced. It was pretty awesome.
Absolutely. And I'm not sure, Terry, I'm not sure if you got to hear. He did answer your question. This is Terry from Pro Wrestling Historical Society who had that question, and I believe Dan, I think he answered it as best as he possibly could, and I think it really was a great answer. I mean, in all honesty, guys like Luthez and Billy Robinson, you can't get much more better than those two. I mean, they're among some of the greatest of all time, and catch-as-catch-can style wrestling. Now, my question is, why aren't they in the WWE Hall of Fame?
Who?
Billy Robinson and Lou Thez.
Oh,
I believe WCW honored Lou Thez, but WWE never had that chance, or did they?
That's probably the greatest question ever. You wouldn't say anything for Billy Robinson being in the WWE Hall of Fame, not because he doesn't deserve it. No, he is probably.
Well, I mean, some people like to throw out the excuse that because he never worked for Vince or Vince Senior.
I know, but he's never worked around them either. He's worked for.
Well, no, I understand that, but I mean, WWE owns so much of the copyright, so much of the history of all the territories, going way back when to even AWA to. I can't even name them all off the top of my head. I'm not a historian. We have our guys who can tell us all of that.
The company that did not get a handle of is the World of Sport. You haven't gone around that. This is British wrestling. It's probably the best wrestling you can ever watch. The most pure and just, oh my God, it's me talking about it. You need to check it out. It's so amazing. And Billy Robinson was a legend today and will continue to be a legend forever. Like the Ultimate Warrior said the night before he passed away. And it was, I mean, it's people like Dan Severn that kind of carry on that phrase. And it's the people like me and you and just everybody aspiring to do anything. I mean, it's so awesome.
And, he's actually proof right there that although he is retired, he's doing the next best thing, and he's actually giving back. He's giving back to the fans, to people who want to learn what he has been doing for a good part of his life. I mean, he still wrestles, but he wrestles on his own schedule. He doesn't answer to anybody but himself. He makes his own deals, and I think that's a smart way to go. He has nothing really left to prove. He had the UFC Hall of Fame, as we mentioned. I don't think we did mention that. Oh, well, there you go, part 2 right there.
Part 2.
Would he accept if WWE honored him one day? Not likely anytime soon, but, it could happen. I mean, stranger things have happened. Who would have thought we would have seen Bruno return to WWE after being away for over 20 years and get put into the Hall of Fame and sell out the Madison Square Garden 188 times?
Yeah, you have to be there.
Who'd have thought we would see the Ultimate Warrior come back after an 18-year exile? Nobody would have seen that coming. Never say never.
And even after they butchered him on that DVD to bring him back in mid-senses was amazing to see.
Terry actually posed a question to you, or to ask us both as far as our opinion goes. How do you think Mr. Severn would do against somebody like Brock Lesnar?
To answer that question, what's his name?
Huh?
Jerry? This is Terry.
No. This is Terry. This is Mr. Kent from Pro
Terry.
Wrestling Society. Yeah.
Well, no, Terry. If you went up against Brock Lesnar, that would be a tough challenge with even the Undertaker, who is a phenom, proved to be mortal this past year WrestleMania. Felix probably doesn't want to like me saying that, but I'll come and knock
mention it, whatever. It is what it is.
But no. If he ever went, ahead against Brock Lesnar, I think they would either kill each other or one man would be left standing.
Yes.
There's no way.
I think that's pretty much right there. They would literally either one of them would eventually give up by being so exhausted, or one of them would get beat pretty badly.
Or die. That's not even there. That's not understanding.
That would go back to what we were talking about when he mentioned the longest wrestling match in the Guinness Book of World Records. Maybe we might see a runner-up, possibly one that could surpass it. I mean, he's older, but he could still go if he wants to. Had he been in his prime, like he said, during like the mid-'80s, then there's another story.
I'll ask you this question. I was thinking this entire time. I forgot about it, again for the part 2. The number one person I think I would love to see him go against is, right now, besides Brock Lesnar, that's obvious, is
Let me guess, Daniel Bryan.
Antonio Cesaro.
I was expecting you to say Daniel Bryan. But Cesaro was actually a good one, a very good one. And since he doesn't really watch TV that much, I wanted to get his opinion about the WWE Network because new fans are getting reintroduced to who he was back then and what his impact was in wrestling. I didn't know that WCW had actually reached out to him. I believe that Bischoff wanted to bring him in since obviously WWE brought in Ken, maybe to one up them, so to speak. I know Bischoff was good for that back then.
This is why I think Dan Severn is probably one of my favorite people on earth, because he wasn't afraid to say what he's done and what he and be confident about it. I love that about him. It's just I hate the word swag, but I mean it's just the swagger about him, the confidence that he brings about him is awesome. But he can say, if you got it, something,
Absolutely. And well, on that note, let's talk about next week's guest.
Who is next week's guest? Hold on.
This is the second time you asked me. You should know by now.
I know, I'm the one that did it. I can't remember. Hold on. No. There's so many people I was so I'm trying to remember. Next week says, we have former ECW superstar Angel, and after the week that he's had, there's going to be a couple things to talk about.
Awesome. Former ECW star Angel. You will see the posts come up on our social media, so stay tuned. Just in case you're not familiar with the name, some are more familiar with faces, kind of like me. Names I draw a blank unless I see who you are. But yes, I think that's going to be fun, and I always look for interesting conversations. And you can really tell when you have somebody on the phone whether or not they're a good storyteller or not. You can tell right off the bat within a matter of a few minutes of having them on, and I look forward to hearing how good of a storyteller he is and what kind of moments he remembers from his career or would like to talk about. You still there?
I know. Yeah, I'm still here.
Quiet all of a sudden.
He's one of the best storytellers, and just being there for over an hour, it's amazing. I keep on saying, oh my God, it's just, I'm trying to say it again, but, Dan Severn he is a blackjack in every single sense of the word. He knows.
And
he knows
that
a
John
lot.
Cena comment made my night. I couldn't believe he would say that, but he kept it real. And he said, if you don't like what I have to say, then don't listen or don't ask.
We should bring him and Tony Norris on in a tag team on Pipebomb one day and see how much of an interesting night that would be.
Well, we've even talked about the possibilities of bringing in guys like if we were to do it, and probably sometime maybe later this year for all we know, but to bring in maybe Mr. San Martino and Mr. Koloff, former opponents way back when. I mean, that's something to think about. And I'm not sure if I heard you say his name already, but what if we were to bring Mr. Severn back and have him on with Mr. Shamrock?
That's perfect. And I don't think we're going to have just part 2. Maybe we're going to have part 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. But, that's just in the future.
Absolutely. And, folks, I can't believe we are already finishing up I'm jumping way ahead. Finishing up April and already heading into May. My God, summer's right around the corner.
Christmas is almost here.
To deal with it. I want fall back here. I want winter time.
I want to eat some turkey.
Well, actually, my birthday's around that time, so I can agree with that. Turkey time would be cool.
I forgot, so you have to remind me.
Oh, wait, your thing is tuna sandwiches with tomatoes.
Magical Subway sandwiches. Tuna and tomato from
I knew
Subway,
that would
yes.
get you.
They're magical. They're always, I don't know, there's something about it. I love tuna and tomato sandwiches from Subway. Eat fresh.
I might have to give that a try one day. Who knows? But
that's it. They asked me, they're like, oh, no, I'm like, just tuna and tomato. They're like, oh, you only tuna lettuce? I'm like, no, just tuna and tomato. Gosh.
But I wanted to mention out there that obviously with the upcoming event with Sonny Ono and Ernest Miller, they have it come. Actually, it's, if I'm not mistaken, let me take a look here. It is actually 1 week from this Friday. I want to quote this right because I keep forgetting the name.
River City Festival.
I don't want to be misquoting it. River City Sports Festival. There we go. Where he will be there. A lot of old faces from WCW like Disco Inferno. One of the Nitro Girls, Gorgeous George, former manager of the Macho Man Randy Savage. I guess you could say former girlfriend. Well,
I believe Savio Vega. Is that who it is?
I believe Garrett Bischoff, too.
We'll talk about they could be there because I believe Sonny said the last time he was on that one of his friends, I think it's Severn. Maybe it isn't. Maybe I think it's somebody else. Don't quote me on that.
Well, check it out, folks. rcsportsfestival.com for
if you don't
the
remember
upcoming
that,
events.
because you probably won't remember that, just go to pipebombradio.weebly.com and check it out there, because we have a picture that's also a link. You click on it, there's a magical page that's going to appear that you can actually see it.
Yes, sir. We've got Extreme Rules coming this Sunday night. Before we depart for tonight, I actually wanted to get your thoughts about the very bizarre yet entertaining start of Monday Night Raw.
That was, like I said when I was on my Twitter and stuff, that was one of the most memorable opening segments to a TV show I've ever seen in my life.
And I told you too. I remember I mentioned this to you. I don't know if you read my message or not, or maybe didn't. I don't know.
I probably
Anyways,
didn't.
The way the way it was being portrayed to me, and it just came to my mind when I was watching it, because it was very well done. I'm not going to say anything. It was something we haven't seen in a long time, as far as the fact that John Cena is so beloved and so respected. Well, truth be told, he really is respected for what he does. All of a sudden have his opponent becoming more popular than he is, or at least that's how he's being portrayed. It gave me the thought of when back in WCW, Sting was obviously the hero, the top of the guy of the company, and they kept making it seem like Sting was going to join, and they even had a fake Sting to prove that he was going to join, and no fans wanted to believe that he would never turn his back on them, and ultimately Sting would leave and be gone for months and come back as the Crow Sting. Now, I'm not saying that Cena's going to come back and wear makeup and come from the ceiling or whatever.
I would be amazed if he did. I want
to disappear from television for a few months and come back as the silent hero, and they have their ultimate showdown. I don't know, maybe Survivor Series.
Yeah, no, John Cena to come back after a while and have long black hair with a goatee and a mustache. Oh my God!
I couldn't see him with long hair. I've never seen him with it. I couldn't see him with it. But you know what? That would be a good touch.
It would be interesting. But Bray Wyatt, after seeing that, I'm like, he has got it. He has it. He has the whole world in his. Yeah, he has it. Man.
You know what? We're not the children's choir, but and then to see the lights pop on and all of them wearing the sheep masks. Oh wow! What a moment! What a moment!
Let me say. That is.
It will. One of the most historic, one of the most bizarre, one of the most talked about moments, really, probably of this year, for sure.
I'm just going to say that
Slammies.
before, I thought Bray Wyatt was cool before anybody else did. I'll be the first one to say I'll brag about it all day.
Nobody was actually following NXT. You were following it.
Well, not just NXT. It was FCW when he came. It was after he failed at that. I wouldn't say failed, but I mean Husky Harrison wasn't really working for him, so he had to come up with something different. So he went back to FCW for a while and developed the Bray Wyatt character with the big Eli Cottonwood, who was in the second season, I believe, the first season maybe. I think it was the second of NXT. Who was the guy that kind of like looked? It was kind of like the Eric Rowan of that time a few years ago, and stood with him. And if you go back and look at his promos, they were as good as they are today, even better. I mean, even better. He's doing them now better than he did back then, but even those back then were still phenomenal. And that's what when I first seen him, his new thing, I'm like, this is going to change everything. He is going to change everything, every single aspect about WWE in just a couple.
I can see him being the next top heel, the next top bad guy, which they're going to ultimately turn good, because it seems that a lot of the generations, well, the last two anyways, the Attitude Era, it was cool to like the bad guy.
He's not a bad guy. He's not a good guy.
Well, but they're portraying him to be a bad guy, to be hated. And it's not really working, because although some do boo him, some do follow him though.
Look at him, and I'm not comparing him to Stone Cold. If
I'm not comparing him to Stone Cold. I'm not just mentioning the actual.
No, I'm saying to me. I'm not comparing him to Stone Cold or anything. Just when Stone Cold, he wasn't bad, he wasn't good, but when he acted bad, the fans still loved him for it. And Bray Wyatt isn't necessarily bad. I think he kind of, especially with John Cena, maybe he's just working because he's working with John Cena. Not many people like John Cena for whatever reason, so he's kind of using that to fuel his fire, and he is doing one hell of a job at it.
Agreed. It's different. It's fresh. It's not seeing Cena always in the title picture. He understands that it's time. He can't always be in the title picture. I mean, I'm sure he will be eventually down the road, but the fact that he's got himself involved in this story, and it's definitely, if anything else, it's putting Bray Wyatt up at that next level. I'm not saying he really needed it, but I mean, it definitely, with one of the top guys, if not the top guy in the business, it don't hurt. It definitely helps.
And his little brother's about to come in just a few moments. Now,
I can't believe they're sticking with that Bo Lever thing, but hey, I know,
I love it. Yeah, you're going to be talking, and you were talking about, look at all the, what did you say when Saturday Night Slam was on? You always said he was delusional. Every single time
delusional NXT champion.
He's a delusional champion. How can you get behind a delusional champion? And I'm like, well, Felix, you must be delusional because he's about to go on the main roster of Monday Night Raw and SmackDown. So you keep on talking.
He's up there for the second time because the first time didn't go around so successfully.
I know, but he's had a kidney. I think something went wrong with his kidney. He broke something in his back, his kidney area, that paralyzed him for a long while. And he came back better than ever, and he is going to be and it's so cool. I look at Bray Wyatt and I look at Bo Dallas. They're so interesting. You never see anything like them before. And if you did, it wasn't better than what they're doing now. I mean, it wasn't better than.
And of course, with the debut of Adam Rose this coming Monday night.
Not wait.
What a transformation this guy has made! Oh my God!
Felix.
Go ahead.
Don't be a lemon. Be a rosebud.
I'm just saying, it went from the bizarre gator hunter from Australia to, and I mentioned this one day that you were not on. It was when I was talking before I got on the phone with Mr. Blair. Seeing him, and it just kind of brought a thought to my mind. And you may laugh when I say this, but he reminded me just a little bit of Austin Powers.
No way.
And you know what? If you follow the Austin Powers trilogy, he had an entourage. He liked to party.
Yeah, I know.
He loved women, of course.
Into the Greek?
Okay, that might be a better comparison, but I'm just saying that's the first name that came to mind when I seen him.
Tonight, go back and watch Get Into the Greek. I don't know if you've seen it before. I mean, I think
I've seen it. I've seen it. I know who you're talking about. The skinny dude that's really annoying.
The first time I heard of Adam Rose and last month when he actually debuted, I'm like, first thing, seconds. That's from the Get Him to the Greek. No doubt, Russell Brand. It's very, very unique. I love these unique characters that are coming in. The more unique they are, the more people are going to stick to them. And Leo Kruger, when he was Leo Kruger, I didn't mind that at all. I thought he was going to go up to the main roster within seconds. And that didn't happen. I don't know what was clicking. I guess I don't know who made the decision to change him, but the change is still good. Either way, I like both of them. When he portrayed the Leo Kruger crocodile hunter guy, not like crocodile hunter, but I mean more like the animal hunter. He's not Steve Rowland, but I mean I love Adam Rose and what he's doing now. It's gonna be awesome. And Monday night he's making his debut with his rosebuds.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if he's going to bring that entourage with him.
Yes, he will.
Will he work with the entourage? Will he lose the entourage eventually? What do you think?
He's going to come out with his entourage. That's part of his entrance.
Yes, but how long will that last? But see, the same thing could be asked because I wondered how long the Wyatt family were going to have where they appear on the Titantron saying whatever, like New Orleans, we're here, and blows it out, and all of a sudden it's been going on since they debuted. So if it works out and it gets over with the crowd on Raw, maybe it will continue on for him the same way.
He has no clue. Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt family they have no clue how lucky they are as a unit, because not people can find that niche, and really stick with it, and not only stick with it, but have the fans behind it as well. And to get that, you have to be really lucky. You have to be blessed, man, and he is.
And at this point, I mean, going into Extreme Rules, well, I don't know. What do you think? Should we run it down real quick, and who you mentioned who we think is going to win?
Yeah, I'm just going to name names. Just, say it, then you say yours. Like, yeah,
what about the matches that are being pushed the most? The most, like the Evolution versus the Shield, the Brave versus Cena.
That's interesting because you have Evolution versus the Shield, but you have no clue. Is Ric Flair going to side with the Shield, or is still use Evolution? I think you can use the Shield, but this Sunday for Extreme Rules, my pick will have to be the Shield. They proved if they're taking out people like The Undertaker and The Rock, and it's simultaneously taking out just so many people, you're going to take out the Evolution. I mean, they can do it, even though they were kind of backed into a corner this past Monday night, last night on Raw. Maybe they can pull out something out of the air, out of the Shield, back of destruction to find the defeat.
Well, because many were obviously the dirt sheets. You know how they love to stir the pot. A lot of times their quote unquote their behind the scenes facts come up as I call it BS, bullshit, is crap. A lot of times it's true, but 90% of the time, maybe 95%, it's crap. And as far as they're predicting that Ambrose and Rollins are going to break away, and Roman Reigns will be the breakout star of the group and will give a push like no other. Now, not saying that it won't happen, but I'm the kind of guy that I like to see it before I start agreeing with it. If I don't see it, it don't happen.
Trust me. He's Samoan. He's going to go somewhere.
No, I'm not taking anything away from him at all, because he, without a doubt, he impressed me so much at the Royal Rumble. And since Daniel was not a part of it, he was the next one I was hoping that would win it, because it came down to him and Batista, and he should have won it. Hell, most people thought he should have won it too.
Hey, there's always the Royal Rumble in 2015. He might be able to pull it out.
Yes, and they also said that Jake Roberts could be part of that one too.
Do you think he's going to win? I don't know if he's going to win, but
as far as Roman Reigns, yes. I expect him to. Well, you know what? I think it definitely would help propel himself a little higher up, and breaking away from an actual faction and letting himself be the breakout star that many believe he can be. And he's from that Samoan dynasty that, well, let's just be honest, they create stars. I mean, at one point or another, they've created world champions, and all have wrestled in many different territories, and eventually in WWE. And it's just proof right there, going back to the High Chief Peter Maivia, on the way to now.
Authentica, Haiku, The Rock, Roman Reigns now. I mean, Samu.
I don't. Haku's not actually a part of that.
Hey, I couldn't hear you.
I thought I heard you say Haku.
Haku, he isn't Samoan?
He's not Samoan. I believe he's from Tonga.
Why?
But he and well, you know what?
I'm pretty sure
I don't know.
Samoan. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have said.
I know he's got a brother named. His brother was. Damn it! I mean, maybe it is. It just he just didn't seem like he was. Well, maybe he was. Hell, I'm not going to try to make any assumptions at this point. I don't know. In fact, maybe he was a part of it, but I don't see any linkage to the family, to the Anoa'i family.
Rikishi was like one of the biggest guys that he can. Oh my God!
Because they try to throw Jimmy Snuka in there too, and Snuka's not a part of that. Snuka. Definitely, he's from Fiji.
And you also have Jimmy and Jay right now, the tag team champions, who were one of the best tag team champions, at least in the past 5 years. They are awesome.
Absolutely, they after a long while of clawing their way up to the top, proved themselves to be great champions. I mean, I enjoy their work. I enjoy watching them. They're young, and they give me they remind me of the Samoan SWAT team, the head shrinkers, whatever you want to refer to them as. They were both known as both names, but I enjoy what they bring. I enjoy that they interact so well with the crowd. They're fun to watch.
Well,
and yes, I believe Haku was from Tonga.
Oh. Well, man, besides that, you have Extreme Rules. You have Daniel Bryan versus Kane. I think Daniel Bryan's going to come out with the one. So
well, they had to make you believe that Kane was a credible monster once again. Didn't take much to do that, and it kind of worked to their advantage, especially with the unfortunate news of last week with Daniel's father passing away. To write him off TV, they're going to obviously keep him off until Extreme Rules. Well, I mean, he obviously appeared Monday, but I mean, they're not going to have him compete, so to speak, I guess you could say. Until Sunday.
It's a good one. First time Debbie Network, and it's the one I'm going to be able to watch. But yeah, I mean, tonight was awesome. In Severn.
Kane and Daniel never really disappoint in their matches. I think they bring out the best in each other. You know,
guys attack them, and they're awesome.
And one last thing before we close on our thoughts on Extreme Rules. I could not believe, and I still can't, how much they're pushing this El Torito and Hornswoggle type deal. I realize they're the only two midget wrestlers they have, but is it working? Is it getting over with the crowd?
Yes.
Are the fans digging it? I know the announcers are, oh, my God, match of the year. You know, like, this is so great. Can you believe this?
No, not match of the year, match of the century.
God.
Match of the century, match of the decade, match of the millennium.
Whatever. And they're going to have a We LC match. I'm just shaking my damn head. We LC. Can you believe that?
Hope they don't take off their pants.
What's that?
Cares, that's a combination.
Oh.
No,
well,
I hope
it's going to
kick
off on the pre-show, but should be interesting. But tune in this Sunday, folks. I know from the success of the WWE network, a lot of cable providers are pulling away from showing WWE shows. I actually have DirecTV. Unfortunately, they will not show it there. They don't show it on Dish. They got rid of it off of Uverse from AT&T. You know,
forget them.
It's not working. Obviously, nobody is going to want to pay $50, $60, $70, $80 a month for pay-per-views when you can actually get them. Pay $10 a month and get them for free.
And if you do that, you're probably the most dumb person I know. But I mean, even the dumbest person might want to know.
Even back when I started watching pay-per-views in the late '80s, pay-per-views back then, $20. That's it. And they just slowly started to get up higher and higher and higher. And don't be surprised if WWE Network starts raising their prices.
Even if they do, I'll still buy it. It's more cheaper than buying $60 or
I know.
whatever.
I agree. And it is very much like Netflix. You get all the history of wrestling all in that package, and watch current stuff like the pay-per-views and the backstage stuff, and it gives Josh Matthews and Booker T work. So. But that'll do it for tonight, folks. We hope you enjoyed tonight's show as much as we did. A great storyteller that, let's just put it this way, he wasn't done telling stories. We're going to bring him back. Keep an eye out for that later this year, maybe later this fall. Tune in next week as we have ECW superstar Angel to tell his story of his time in wrestling and what he's doing today. So we will go ahead and end it now. On behalf of Austin, this is Felix with Pipebomb Radio saying keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars. Good night, everybody. Good night, Austin.
Good night.